Well, ASCERT'S a charity working with people who have drug or alcohol or mental health issues. We were set up around 25 years ago, back in 1998, as a community response to concerns around drug problems within local communities. And we've grown over the last 25 years to be one of the regional providers in Northern Ireland. We would be delivering a whole range of services for people of all ages. Well, I actually set the charity up. I was an elected representative on Lisburn Council, which is one of the local councils in Northern Ireland. And people were telling me about and I was seeing for myself, the impact of drug problems in local areas. And I brought people together from the community and from statutory agencies to talk about how we could respond to that. And our decision at the time was that there needed to be some type of community-based organisation which was there in order to be able to support local people. Well, look, all of the things that people are experiencing now and have over the last couple of years have just magnified the problems that they're dealing with. So obviously, if people are concerned or anxious, then sometimes they turn to alcohol or to drugs in some cases in order to be able to deal with those things. So if the pandemic had a massive effect on people who were drinking at home, that unregulated drinking and during lockdown, and a lot of people think coming out of the pandemic with problems around alcohol that didn't have whenever the pandemic started, and now we're in the throes of a global economic crisis, and the cost of living increases that people are experiencing, the energy problems, those things. There are just more pressures on people, and again, alcohol will be one of the crutches that people take in order to try and deal with that. So we have more people coming to our services now than ever. Well, I think that we're seeing that there's a better acknowledgement now, I suppose, that particularly around mental health, that this is something which is a common a problem, and people are more openly willing to talk about mental health because they see it now that it's not like necessarily a condition, it's not a medical problem that's diagnosed in most cases. It's not the same stigma about it, but there is still stigma because you're still having encouraging people to talk about their vulnerabilities, the pressures that they have to deal with, and that's not a comfortable space for anyone to be in. But the reality is that all of us experience some type of challenges or pressures around our own mental health at some point within our lives. You can expect that 1 in 5 people will have a mental health problem of some description during their life. When it comes to alcohol, that's a bit of a different issue because there's still a bigger stigma around that. But the reality is that 80% of the population drink alcohol. Out of those, a significant number of people will drink at levels which are problematic for them. And being able to talk about those things before they get more difficult and worse for them, I think is really important. And a lot, alcohol issues and mental health issues sometimes go hand in hand. So, I think that we need to encourage everyone within the community to be able to be, more comfortable and open and be able to talk about whatever's going on for them, and for them to know that there are support services there that can help them whenever they need it. Well, I think that obviously as we've grown as an organisation, our services have grown and people become more aware of us, then that has helped us connect to people who need it. The reality is, though, unfortunately, most people only seek help whenever things get really bad, and whenever things have really started to have an impact on their day-to-day lives, and that's a small part of the population who are perhaps at that stage where things are starting to become a bit difficult, that if they were to be seeking help at an earlier stage, there's still a point where it's easier to make changes or to be able to do practical things in order to divert the problem or deal with the problem. And I think that we still need to do a lot more in order to be able to reach people at an earlier stage before they hit a point where it gets to a point of crisis. Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone has challenges and pressures, and we all cope with them in different ways. But if things are starting to go off in your head, which is saying, hang on a minute, that's just really starting to affect me in some way, or perhaps, there's something that, isn't just quite right here, then I think we need to encourage people to know that it's okay to put your hand up and say, I have something going on here that I'm not really maybe sure that it's a problem, but can we talk about this? Because there are helping services, there are people who care, who are there to be able to talk about those things, and that can offer support and guidance. So, it's better to be able to talk about what's going on and see how you can be supported, rather than wait until things get to a point where you really feel that there's no choice, or that you're really seeing the real difficult impacts within your life. Well, I think for a lot of families, whether it's your parent or whether it's your partner or it's a sibling, that people don't exist in isolation. If someone has a problem with their alcohol use, a problem with their mental health, a problem with drug use, there are people around them who are being affected by that. People who perhaps don't know what they can do in order to be able to manage the situation, maybe who are being affected by it themselves and who have their own needs. I think that it's we need to encourage that. If anyone feels that they want someone to talk to, is that there are people there who can talk to, who can give you support, advice, and perhaps help you work out how you can best deal with what is going on within your lives. Because none of us are experts in these things, but if we talk about them, then a problem. Problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. So I'd rather that people were seeing that there are helping services there, people you can talk to early. I think the key message is that nobody has to do this alone. If you have people around you who you love, if you have people around you who are part of your friends or your support network, they are there in order to be a resource that can help you. But they also may be struggling with understanding, how they can do that. We do a lot of work with families who are, dealing with what's going on around someone's alcohol or their drug or mental health issues. And even if the person who has those issues isn't interested or ready to seek help, we can be there in order to talk to those around them, around how they can be supported or how they can be a positive role in helping that person get to a point where they are willing to seek help.